Welcome to the exciting world of Synergy Bonus. Tonight we're going to spend a little time chatting with you about the recent additions to the Pokemon franchise. The 15th installment into the series, was it? I think.
It's Gen 8.
Gen 8, yeah, but I mean, your Mystery Dungeon and so on
Right.
down the line. Gale of Darkness and all that nonsense.
Pokemon Conquest, which I missed.
Pokemon Ranger, so on. But we're going to be talking about Sword and Shield tonight.
It's one of the new mainline Pokemon for the Nintendo Switch.
And the second console-based one, following right on the heels of Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu. With a fun little Easter egg that if you've completed Let's Go Pikachu or Let's Go Eevee or Let's Go Pikachu on your Switch with a save file in there, you get a special Pikachu or special Eevee at the first train station in the game.
Yeah, fuck you. I never played Let's Go, so.
Yep. So, this was released for the Nintendo Switch, and it was actually one of those ones where they did a universal release on the same day, I believe, November 15th, so for once Japan wasn't ahead of us.
It was nice. I got to do a midnight release for it. It was fun.
Yep.
Came home, set it up. Hey, there was no day one install, update, or anything. I got to just put it in and play. Beautiful feeling.
Imagine how that works.
Right?
I can't. This does hold the current record for being the fastest selling Switch game, having, at least in Japan, having sold over 2 million copies in the first 3 days. It came close to 2 million copies in the United States within the first week.
This game's not without controversy, though.
Yeah. That's probably a large result coming from the Dexit hashtag and hashtag Bring Back the National Dex, which we're less invested in, having neither of us actually spent the money on Pokemon Bank.
But I get it. Some people really want that Dex to catch them all. And I'm like, when was the last time I caught them all? Red and blue. That was it. So, but I get it. People have their favorites, and if their favorites aren't here, you're, whatever.
Black and white. I filled up my decks on black and white. But with the, 81 new Pokemon and 13 regional variants for the Galar region, which is absolutely Great Britain and Scotland, we're up to almost 1,000 different pocket monsters.
Right.
Now. That's
a
lot of things to catch and evolve. And
so, in a sense, I get why they did it. That's not going to stop people from shouting and whatnot.
There were a couple of interviews with the lead developer on the game where he commented that just given the time crunch and so on, he really wanted to make sure that he picked the Pokemon that were most appropriate to the setting rather than trying to put everything in there, because every Pokemon is somebody's favorite. Prior to the game going live, when they were doing the selection of Pokemon that would be in this right after Sun and Moon came out, I think they said all but 4 Pokemon received at least 1 vote.
I mean, that's cool. I mean, that's really cool. I'm glad everyone is someone's baby there.
I wish they'd tell us which the 4 were that didn't get any votes.
Right. What's interesting is there's only one Gen 1 starter, and then that is Charmander, Charizard.
And you don't get them till post-game.
Yeah, no, you don't. But that's the only Gen 1 starter in this. There's no Squirtle, there's no Bulbasaur, so I'm a little sad on that end. But
there. Speaking of starters, this one has some lame ones. Like, I'm not impressed at all by Fire Rabbit, Water. Is that supposed to be, like, a salamander? Or
I don't know what it is.
And Plant Monkey.
All I know is it starts off as this little crybaby, Sobble does, becomes an emo when it's mid-stage, and then becomes a fucking spy in the final stage.
It's Gex the Gecko.
It really is. I don't know about you, but like the humanoid ones just kind of weird me out a little bit. Cinderace there, I mean, he looks like a soccer player. Mm-hmm. Like I said,
and his Scorch Ball is far and away the best of the 3 attacks.
The monkey one, the final one, just looked with a drum and everything.
It's a gorilla with a giant drum and dreadlocks. I kind of like it.
Right.
It's just his animations are somewhat.
But like just the humanoid ones just kind of are weird a little bit. Just a little bit. Like,
you say so.
I'm looking at, like, Serena there, the plant type one. Like, you evolve her when she gets a fighting kick move. And, like, she's just...
It's not a fighting move. It's a straight plant move.
Is it the kick move is?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Drop a kick. It's a straight plant move.
All I know is just... It's definitely a female form with long legs who has a fetish for just stomping you out.
That's actually,
part of my team.
That's actually right there under Pokédex entry, too.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Maybe in your Pokédex entry. I don't think... I love the Pokédex entries are probably my favorite thing about the Pokemon games, is because it's like, who wrote this? This is terrifying.
I also used her pretty extensively in Sun and Moon, too.
Mm-hmm. So. She's a good Pokemon.
She's a very good
So the story in this game, it really focuses on you doing the gym challenge.
No. The story in this game happens off screen while you're doing the gym challenge.
Okay, I get it.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, they're really pushing you to do the gym challenge. You do the gym challenge. Well, there's something going over here.
Don't take care of it. You're a kid. You go handle this. Go beat the next
gym challenge. But I got to say, the gyms are probably one of my favorite things about this game. I love the setting. It's a big stadium. I love that people are there cheering you on. It feels very like a soccer match.
That's kind of the theme that they're going for. Is that it's a national competition that has all of the hullabaloo and just gravitas of soccer match or football. Sorry. Over in Britain, with all of the, like, if you see the champion, he's got all of these corporate sponsor badges
on his cape and everything. I love that.
I don't care for it so much. I liked the older versions where the gym challenges are more of a private. I'm an individual going to challenge a dojo, and I'm not getting any allocates for going and doing this thing that hundreds of other people are doing.
Mm-hmm. But it's also interesting to see, because, like, as you progress, it's like, oh, so many people have dropped out. Oh, so many people have done this. It's like, there is really no penalty for retrying the gyms. They bring that up, but people still drop out of this gym challenge. So you only get those few in the end.
It didn't make me feel like a better trainer. It just made me think that the other people competing were really not good.
Hop.
Yes. We'll get back to
that. But it reminds me of the way, like, the Pokemon anime is set up, where, like, especially in the championships, where you have an entire audience just looking at you. I love that
championships, that makes sense. But the qualifying rounds?
Yeah, I just love the whole grandiose thing of it. It's great. It is. As far as the story that's going on right there, it's kind of a letdown. I mean, it could be interesting, but they don't fully explore it because, as Trav said, it's kind of happening around you. They're talking about the darkest day and all this stuff. And
there's this big thing where they're exploring an event that happened in the past that looks like it's going to repeat itself now, and it's a big deal.
Because there wasn't a lot of information about it. They knew it happened, and they're like, okay, let's try to find out more about it.
There's some Indiana Jones stuff going on where they're looking to, paw through ancient ruins and old texts and stuff. But you aren't really getting info dumps every time they find something else out, aside from the little bit of insight that you grant through a series of yes or no questions.
Go do the gym.
They're like, oh, that'll really help with my next step. You go do the gym now. Let the grown-ups handle this. I'm like, this really ties into a peeve of mine. The target demographic for the Pokemon games at this point is over 30. Like, it just is. These are the people who grew up with these games. These are the people who continue to buy these games and play these games. Stop making me be a 10-year-old.
Not wrong.
I get that there's an element in the Pokemon world where you get your trainer's license at age 10, and that's when you can go take on your Pokemon journey, despite the fact that the bug trainers and lasses and so on are clearly younger than you are. But
I feel like you should be able to choose make a custom character, have an age, do this, because there are trainers of all ages, all everything.
Let me be a grizzled old utility worker who didn't undertake their Pokemon journey until they were in their 30s or late 20s or something. Fine. Let me be a disgruntled salaryman office worker who's off doing this because it was better than the option. It's one of the reasons that I like Pokemon Coliseum so much, because the single-player character is of a sort of an ambiguous age, but he's clearly not a 10-year-old. He's in his late teens or early 20s.
I do think it's hilarious, though. There's this one trainer, I don't know if you've encountered it, I'm sure you have, but where you beat him and he gives you his money, he's like, I was saving up for something. and now I had to give you my money.
There's a couple of those.
Yeah, I think that's a funny little nod there. But there is a team in this game, Team Yell, which essentially is soccer hooligans.
Yeah.
And you find out that one of the gym leaders actually kind of organized it to say, hey, my sister's doing this thing. Go cheer for her. He's trying to be a decent brother, but they're just being soccer hooligans about it.
Which is a neat idea, which wasn't taken far enough, because their hooliganism kind of results in, we're going to block the road here. Like, okay, maybe I'm going to have a chain series of battles like the Golden Nugget Bridge in Red and Blue. Nah, it's just going to be two guys, and it won't even be a double battle. One of them will throw out a single Pokemon, and then they'll run away. Which is another...
There's some weak aspects of the game of trainers not having full
teams.
Teams. I can get it with certain ones, like...
Like if I'm in Viridian Forest, I fully expect that bug trainer to have, a Caterpie, a Weedle, and maybe a Kakuna.
But when you get further on in the game, they should have more than 3, more than 2.
More than 1!
Well, there are... Was there ones that only had 1?
There might have been. I'm just getting to the final championship stuff, and I'm still running into trainers in the wild who have 1 Pokemon.
Here's another little minor gripe about this. It's easy. It's really easy on all fronts.
Game hands you everything from the get-go. We found Firestones and Dogstones the minute we set foot in the wild area, which is something else we'll talk about.
But a lot of people complained about the XP share being always on. I could care less about it because you know what?
You can turn it off.
You can't turn it off.
You can't turn it off.
You can't. That's why people are complaining. I don't like having to switch my Pokemon all the time to do this. I'm just going to go and do what I have. And old games that didn't have the XP share, I had 1 monster fucking Pokemon and all these other ones trailing behind.
Whereas I understand it's an RPG, and I'll switch out who's in my lead for a while so that I can get...
Well, that's what I did. I was like, oh, we're going to a water area. Grass type up front. I get that, but
You didn't need that in this game, by the way. You just put your starter in the front, and they'll carry you through the whole game.
It's fairly easy, and the... I was talking to one of my buddies here. He finally got to the champion, did the fight and whatnot. He goes, I feel like Gordon Ramsay now. Finally a good fucking match. The champion is the only one that I had issues with because he had a counter for everything I put out.
I had a mild issue with the Dragon Gym, but because foolishly, knowing it was a Dragon Gym, I went in loaded for Dragon. Team full of Ice types and Fairy types. Dragon Gym has a gimmick. Spoiler. It's actually a gym that's based on double battles and environmental effects. Sandstorm, ice storm, sunny day, rainy day, and so on down the line. So, yes, they'll have a Dragon out, but they'll also have a support Pokemon like an Abomasnow, whose very presence on the field causes an environmental effect like Hailstorm. And the real threat on the field is usually the supporting Pokemon with the environmental stuff going on. The dragons don't usually get too many hits off, or if they're doing something, they're using support moves to beef up the support Pokemon. Mm-hmm. And so, it doesn't do me any good to be prepared for dragons with ice types when there's an Abomasnow on the field.
Post game, it's there. It's decently fun because it focuses more on the story aspects now. And if I was reading it correctly, it's did I just become leader of the region here? Because that's what you made it out to be.
Basically.
Because Swordbird and Shieldbird, or whatever the fuck their names are, I can't remember.
Basically, yeah.
They're actually lines of royalty from way back when this event happened and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And you kick the living shit out of them. Obviously, it's Pokemon, but they actually give you respect and all this stuff. But they mentioned that. You don't get your Master Ball until post game. And the only thing I used it on was the Legendary. There's only 3 Legendaries in this game, and one of them is in the other game.
Which is kind of refreshing, because I got a little exhausted by those games that had up to 7 different Legendaries, and it's just... How legendary can it be if there's that many of them?
Right. But the game has great character development for certain characters.
Sonya's phenomenal.
She's literally a girl in her 20s, and she's kind of coming into her own. She becomes a scientist. Hop,
He's not a good character.
He's terrible at what he does. And when the final time you beat him, he's like, you know what? I am done with this Pokemon trainer thing. I'm going to be an assistant to Sonya. Like, that's what he does. He realizes he's not going to be like his brother. He's not going to be better than him. He's not going to be better than you.
Which is really the most interesting thing about his character as your rival. You do get multiple rivals in this, which is nice. But all of your rivals are two-dimensional, maybe?
Yeah.
They're very weak.
Marnie, I like as a character, but she doesn't develop as much as, like, Sonya does.
And it's just like, it makes me long for the old days when you had Gary or Silver.
The only thing close to Gary in this is Beatty, who looks like a old woman, but apparently it's a dude.
It's like a dude who's like a year older than you are. Yes.
Yeah, it's weird.
And he becomes the new leader of the
fairy type gym, and Marnie becomes the leader of the dark type gym, which I think is cool. I'm glad to see character development that way. Hey, this character is doing. So I'm assuming if there's going to be an ultra version of this,
maybe
they're going to be the gym leaders there.
I mean, like, I thought How was annoying in Sun and Moon.
Hop takes the cake, though. Talking about the gym leaders, though, I like them. They're great. Like, I can remember all the gym leaders here. I mean, I could remember in the other ones, but there were more than just, I'm a gym leader of this. Yeah. They all have their, like, thing that they do, and they're icons. They're sports icons.
And they actually participate in the game outside of their gym battles, which is nice and refreshing for character development. They aren't just sitting at the back of the gym like Brock or Misty.
And it's nice, too, because you get trainer cards. You get two versions. You get the common and you get the rare one, and it gives you a little more insight into the characters. It's a cool little collectible. Let's touch on the wild area. That's a new feature that they added to this game.
I hate the wild area. It's pointless. It's taking up a huge part of the game, and there's just like no story or anything happening out there. It's Safari Zone, take it to a ridiculous extreme without any of the limitations that made Safari Zone interesting or challenging. You just wander around, you find the things you want, and if you have the right badges so that you can catch stuff up to the next level, that's another thing I want to come back to, you just go ahead and catch it. And it's just like this big, empty waste of space. And I don't care for it. Like, give me routes where I have to prowl around and explore and look for stuff. You know?
And you see, a lot of people really like the wild area. I'm okay with it.
A lot of people are allowed to be wrong.
So, as he's saying, the wild area is a big area of just random Pokemon. The Pokemon appear in the tall grass, and you can actually see them in this game, which I know a lot of people don't like or some people really like. I mean, for me, it's like, hey, I'm going for this. I'm looking for it. There it is. I can go get it.
For me, it's like, I'm in a hurry. I can just avoid all of these things. Oh, now I'm under-leveled for the new area that I'm going to.
But the problem, well, I shouldn't say the problem with the wild area is, if you're spending any time in the wild area, you're over-leveled for the area you're going to. Hey, I caught this. Hey, I caught this. Raid battle, raid battle, raid battle. Raid battles are new.
They're kind of a spin on the raid battles from Pokemon Go, I think. It is an interesting multiplayer function that I think they could have explored a little better because they're not particularly challenging.
They're not. Well, actually, the 5-star ones can be very challenging. The problem is like actually in the multiplayer aspect, I've only ever gotten like one other person to join me. That timer clicks down, then they give me 2 computer ones, and if the person with me is under-leveled, I'm not getting that thing. Because even if my super effective move hits, it's only taking a small chunk out, and then he puts up a shield. And it just burns time until it runs away.
See, I played with my sister and my brother-in-law over Thanksgiving, and so we were doing local play where it was the 3 of us and 1 NPC. And, there was... Even though they were both the gym behind me, there was nothing we found that we couldn't raffle stomp in 1 or 2 turns.
And this game's also... Aside from rare candies, they give you these XP candies. The game is just really pushing you to get to max level so you can EV train, IV train, and just do that for competitive measures. That's really what it's pushing to.
Seems to be very focused on competitive fighting. Which,
right.
If that was their case, I wonder why they made the decision. A lot of the character models and animations are lifted straight from Pokemon Go.
Mm-hmm. Why they didn't include the other Pokemon?
Not even that. Like, given the computing power of the Nintendo Switch, limiting the animations to what's already out there is very underwhelming.
Mm-hmm. This game, it shines in so many areas, and then it has literally the same amount of like negative to it. Like it just falls like right in the middle.
I suppose this is as good a place as any to bring up the controversies. You may have heard of the cheeky little Dexit or hashtag Bring Back the National Dex, and that's largely around the decision by the team that they weren't going to bring in all of the nearly 1,000 Pokemon for this particular entry.
As you mentioned earlier.
They're just picking the ones that are the best fits for the region. And there were a lot of people who were upset because that meant that their favorites were excluded. The second part to that is that there's this thing out there called the Pokemon Bank, which was a $5 service that you could pay to Nintendo. And it was a sort of a cloud where you could store your really rare, hard to get, or just favorite Pokemon from any of the 3DS compatible games. So if you had some shinies that you'd picked up back in Omega Red and or Omega Ruby and Sapphire.
Well, here's the thing: if you managed to trade, like you could actually trade from Red and Blue all the way to 3DS. Like they showed how to do it.
Yep.
Like you can have something literally from Gen 1 in this bank.
And the bank was not connected to the Switch for either Pokemon Let's Go or for Pokemon Sword and Shield. Instead, they're actually officially retiring the Pokemon Bank shortly here and replacing it with something called Pokemon Home, which is rather unaffectionately being referred to as the Pokemon Retirement Home because it doesn't kick in until 2020. So even if you have something in that, you're not getting it onto your Sword and Shield cartridge for a few months yet. And like there were a lot of folks who were unhappy about this, and I think it very negatively impacted sales. Yeah, actually, demonstrably, if you look at the figures, it negatively impacted sales with a boycott in North America because people were upset that they couldn't get the various Pokemon that they've had since God only knows when. Mm-hmm. Their favorite team. And in this game, they could have controlled them because they changed how badges work. It's not that you can't control something that's outside.
You just can't catch it.
You just can't catch it. It won't let its defense down.
Actually, I don't know how much that you can't control it is.
Depends on how friendly they are to you.
Okay, depends on how friendly you are. Because I'm like, I had stuff that was over leveled, but
would still obey you if it was friendly.
Okay.
If it was not friendly, then, for example, if you were deliberately making it mad so you could use frustration to its maximum effectiveness, then yeah, the usual leveling rules apply. But I don't know, I like the idea of going and finding something that's high level and catching it as a personal challenge. You can't do this in this one.
Especially because of the wild area, because right at the starting gate, here's a level 20 thing.
There's a level 25 Onyx that's just to the left of the starting gate in the wild area when you get there. You can't touch it until you get your third gym badge.
Mm-hmm. And I've noticed something in post-game. Everything I run into in the wild area is level 60. I'm just not sure if that's just a thing now or what, but everything I've run into, in the wild area at least. I will say this. Visually, the game looks great. It's nice to see...
The game looks fantastic for Pokemon Go.
It's nice to see things that are cleaned up. Like, if you look at Pokemon Go, they're very pixelated.
The game looks like a slightly sharper 3DS game. Like, again, going back to the fact that the Switch has computing power that is comparable to, or in some cases surpasses, the PS4 and the Xbox One. There's no reason for this to look like something that was intended for the 3DS or, like a last-gen handheld console. Yet it does. They haven't really done a whole lot to clean it up or exaggerate the movements or anything. Maybe the cutscenes are a little more detailed, but...
Well, what I think is I notice a lot more going on. Like, even when you, leave the town, you've got the random Wooloos just kind of meandering about. You've got Butterfrees. There's stuff going on.
Or running up and down where they block the track.
It feels like the world is definitely living and thriving and whatnot. And even, the characters' designs for the most part...
They did that, too, in Sun and Moon on the handheld system where there were, just random Wingulls flying around and so on. That's not new.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
But... Even like the character designs, they're not bad. They're not bad at all.
Although the fashion designer for the various boutiques where you can buy your outfits to customize your characters need to be taken out back and given a blindfold and a cigarette, especially for the male avatar.
So yeah, like there's a lot of skinny jeans and stuff here for your characters.
I get it, because you're just painting a new thing over top of the character model, so you don't have to animate folds or whatever. But please, again, your primary demographic is over 30. Can you not make us look like millennial hipster douchebags?
I just threw shorts on. And there's no shorts to buy, by the way. The only way I did it was actually put my uniform and then just change shit around.
You can buy certain uniforms that have shirts or shorts.
That's what I did.
But I don't want shorts. I want relaxed fit jeans. Is that too much to ask for?
And also the music in this game. The music in this game is phenomenal. I would love to buy...
I'm not going to be contrary about this one. The music is fantastic in this
I'd love to buy the soundtrack to this game. And I just don't think there is going to be one. Like, the gym battles in particular, I love. There's a lot of just battle music in particular that's great. Town music is great. The Slumbering Weld right behind your house there, I enjoy that track so much. It's good. It's a good soundtrack. It's probably one of the strongest points of this game. And, like, that's the thing. I need a good soundtrack with a game.
Unlike the controls.
I didn't have too much problem with the controls.
You play with a Pro Controller.
I do play with the Pro Controller.
The game is intended to be played with your two Joy-Cons out, doing the sort of... kind of like the nunchuck for the Wii or the Wii U. Is how they want to do it, especially with the stupid little curry-making minigame.
Rotate, that's all I do. Rotate the stick.
It works really well with a standard Pro Controller. It works less well when you do it as intended with the Joy-Cons, as was the case with Let's Go. And it's not nearly as tight. Catching is more difficult when you're throwing the ball. Although the curry game becomes a little more fun because you actually have to wave the fan and stir the pot and so on. Mm-hmm. But so it is. I won't say it's the weakest Pokemon entry for controls. That probably goes to Let's Go, Eevee, and Pikachu, or maybe Pokemon Go itself. But it's certainly not the best.
As far as like regular controls, it's tight. You press start, you get your bike. You hit X, you bring up your menu. They have a quick command for your Pokeballs. It works nice. I mean, it's set up pretty well. As far as what he's saying for like the mini game aspect, I can get where you're coming from. I totally can. But
they take a nice dig at people who don't like TMs being reusable over and over again with the TRs now.
What's the TRs?
TRs are sort of retro TMs. They even give them an icon that looks like an old vinyl record. And while they have more difficult to come by rarer moves, unless you spend a lot of time doing raid battles in the wild area where they don't get so rare anymore, they break after one use. Like the original TMs from the first, second, and third generations. And they make a lot of talk about them being retro and so on. And some people like them better. And then, like, in the game saying those people are wrong. It's a quality of life improvement to have something that doesn't break after one use.
I feel terrible because I can never use TMs or whatnot. But, that's whatever. Well, we're getting a little long-winded here, but
it's a Pokemon game. You can't help it.
It's a decent enough game. I mean, there's some shortcomings, of course, but I still have fun playing it.
It's a decent game that results in being mediocre in what is otherwise a stellar series. It definitely feels like Game Freak phoned it in on this one.
But like, I don't doubt
it's
that.
Still not a bad game. If you're
I don't doubt if you
to the rest of the series, it's a good starting point.
If you play it, you're still gonna have fun. I mean,
if you want your kids or even your grandkids to get exposed to Pokemon, let them have at it because this one's so easy. They're not going to get discouraged. It's not going to be like, Gold and Silver or the original Ruby and Sapphire, where they might stop playing after a few gyms because it gets actually genuinely difficult and challenging.
But it's not terrible. Like,
no, it's not terrible.
Like, it's easy. That's what it is. It's easy at the end of the day. I found myself. I went through this game very quick.
As a standalone game, it's not bad. It's when you hold it up compared to
everything else, it falls lower on the tier. Sun and Moon's still probably one of my favorites, but this is enjoyable. as I said, we've gotten kind of long-winded here, so why don't we just call it that? I give it on a scale of 1 to 5. I'd give it 4. I'd be fine with a 4.
I might give it a 3. I'm not going to tell you not to go out and buy it. Don't boycott it. The whole bring back the National Dex thing is stupid. It's still a very fun, very playable game.
And even if you don't see the Pokemon that you want, I'm sure there's something there that will have replaced it and whatnot.
And it's on the Switch. There's going to be DLC, so there's going to be more stuff as time goes by.
I have to wonder if there will be DLC. It's yet to be seen.
I don't know. A lot of the post-game stuff is set up in such a way that I'm expecting it.
Well, I guess that's something to predict.
Yeah.
But with that, have a good night. Good gaming. We'll see you next time. Hey, thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed what you saw.
Let us know. Give us a like and a comment down below.
Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell to make sure you get all notifications from us.
And as always,
good night
and good gaming.